Welcome back to Mishpacha, take two, where we catch up with the people that you feel are your friends from the pages of the magazine. Rabbi Schnall, Director of Agudas Yisrael of Lakewood, New Jersey?
Director of Agudas Yisrael of American New Jersey office.
There you go. Is not only a friend to Mishpacha readers at the Klal Yisrael, he's been quite prolific. It's been a challenging few months, half a year, for people in the Askanis industry, especially people charged, as Rabbi Schnall is charged, with juggling so many different things, maintaining relationships in Trenton, taking care of the schools and the families of Lakewood. So you've seen a lot. Rabbi Schnall, in addition to carrying the weight of a large segment of Klal Yisrael on his shoulders, is also a guy who's always smiling and somehow gives the impression of being a camp counselor, much more than being a Klal Yisrael diplomat. Fascinating, always a fascinating mix. Avi, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Sully. Great to be here.
Tell me when we can start with hard questions.
I'm sorry?
Tell me when we can start with the hard questions.
Right away. Let's
also,
do it.
I made like a flowery introduction
Let's do it.
to like set you up that it's a friendly interview.
Right in.
And then boom.
Give me the best you got.
What a traumatic few months this has been for people in Klal Yisrael Askanis, right? We've seen everything turned suddenly. That for years.
I like the word traumatic. Don't use the word traumatic. Okay. It wasn't traumatic. It was challenging. It was a tough time. With Baruch Hashem, a lot of success stories.
I would never argue with a good Yisrael representative on semantics and on words. I don't mean a lot of success
stories. I don't
mean it wasn't successful.
I think a lot of people walked away with tremendous gains.
Okay, let me tell you what I meant.
Never took place.
Let me tell you what I meant.
Go for it.
I see that you're going to be an interrupter already. You're that type of guest. So I'm going to ask short questions.
You didn't give me the rules before.
The Aguda way, no rules. The Aguda way was always quiet shtadlanis. That means out of sight. We don't take on politicians publicly. We don't call them out publicly. We go to Albany or to DC or to Trenton and do our business, and our constituents lay low while we try to take care of them. And Baruch Hashem, this is an organization which is 100 years old and has a proven track record of success. Suddenly everything changed in the last few months. You could blame it on the individuals, you could blame it on decisions made by the government, you could blame it on the panic of Corona and what it did to all of us. I would love to hear your thoughts on what happened over the last few months.
So I think that this idea how Agudas Yisrael sort of like changed its approach to Askanis, to something that was never done before, I don't think that's true, by the way. I think that, yes, things are done, a lot of things are done under the radar, behind closed doors. A lot of things done publicly also. We make a big dinner every year. We have politicians come. Like we do a lot of things in the public also. We go to Washington every year. We used to go to Washington in your grandfather's days, there were like 200 guys used to go. It was a massive event. Sure. That wasn't a small shake like, oh, the Jews are coming in, Shtolahite, we're going to meet a guy and get things done. 200 people came with the black hats, the long coats, and they went. And if you go back in time, the famous, the rabbis marched to White when they went and they got shut out of the White House. That wasn't a quiet thing. They came in, we're coming in, we're going to, not a protest, we're going to come in.
But there was quiet, gullus Jew, submissive, respectful, and then there's quiet, we're blocking the Garden State Parkway, yay, we shut it down. Which that's not a good, I understand. Right. But that's where the Frum community is at now. It's a very scary thing, by all accounts, no?
That is a very scary thing.
You're saying that?
That is
on
a
the
very
record.
Scary thing. On the record.
Shutting down the Garden State Parkway is not smart.
Shutting down the Garden State Parkway, forget about the health part of it, or it's dangerous. It's not a smart thing to do. It doesn't accomplish anything. Especially, like, the governor actually put it pretty much, like, this is New Jersey. Like, what are you trying to accomplish here? He's not winning New Jersey. We'll see what happens. Go to Pennsylvania, go to Florida, go do it. Like, don't do it here. But even in general, it's not a smart thing for us. That is not our mahalach. Shutting down Parkway, shutting down bridges, protesting, demonstrations. That never was, that never is, I can't imagine ever will be. No, that is not our mahalach. And what changed, there were always, people that did their own things and had their own mahalachim. There were always sort of people that protested.
Okay, but you saw it in Brooklyn, a similar thing where you had unrest in the streets of Borough Park, which was, again, never a thing we saw before, and Aguda condemns that.
Absolutely.
Now, even Aguda and Aguda leaders and people like yourself, you're not in New York, so you didn't have to deal with a hostile governor, maybe, but you saw them talking in ways they never talked before, publicly challenging the governor in ways in New York never before. This is a change, no?
I don't think so. I think that we forgot a little bit of the history. When Mayor Dinkins was the mayor, we know Rabbi Sher called him out on some stuff.
Publicly?
It was a different world of publicity then. You didn't have the public world like it is today. Letters were written. Letters are written. I remember in Rabbi Sher's book, Rabbi Sher even asked, I think the governor of the time, to specifically mention the Crown Heights riots.
Unlike most, I just want to tell the star readers, unlike most of the good functionaries and workers who had to read the Rabbi Sher book when they got the job, Avi Schnall read the Rabbi Sher book for fun. He did this. He's probably 15 years old. He probably finished that whole book. Yeah. This is in your blood, yeah?
But I don't know if that's necessarily true, so to speak, that we didn't. There's ways how to call out. How good the representative or employee or even a board member came out swinging, Governor Cuomo is bad. No one did that. There's a lawsuit. That's a civil way how to fight back.
I read in the magazine this week, in Mishpacha last week, the question was, have we burnt our bridges? Or are we burning our bridges? And you were, of course, one of the people we go to. Another thing I have to say about Avi Schnall, besides being insightful and experienced, you understand the role of media, unlike many others who either see themselves above it or beneath it. I don't know what they're thinking when they say, I don't want to. Friend or enemy, the media is there. You always got this from day one. This was a big part of your success in being able to reach the people, is by never turning down people who have questions for you. So I appreciate that. Back here.
Keep asking.
So let's go back to this. You go back to what you're saying about burning our bridges. So you were saying a lot of this. Tell me a little bit, why didn't we burn it? But wait, let me ask the question more direct. People don't like President Trump in this country. There's at least 50% of the country, more or less, is against him. A lot of people love him. The fact that there's a visibly firm Trump support, and they already don't like him, it's not going to make them love Jews any more than they already do. So looking back at the recent election, the November election of 2020, do you think that maybe we could have done a little smarter, found a way to support the president without being so in your face?
We should have.
We should have.
I don't think the parades and all that was totally unnecessary. It was
that means
totally unnecessary.
Shabbos is important. We're allowed to help a candidate.
Well, I'm a 501c3, so I can endorse a candidate. There's nothing wrong with liking a candidate, given to Aguda style, right? Aguda has, every year by its dinners, politicians come, and we honor them, and we give them accolades, and we speak about them, and we thank them. Nothing's wrong with supporting a candidate that's there for our community. President Trump, he did a lot of good stuff. He is with us in almost every big issue, school choice, Israel, our family, the family frame. So yeah, we're going to support him, but that we parade
is it uncomfortable
is way
for you,
beyond.
Given your relationship with Governor Murphy, that your community and your constituents, so to speak, are so openly pro-Trump?
No, so I think there's a big difference. There's a difference between being supportive of the President Trump and voting for President Trump and openly saying, yeah, we're going to support him. They expect that to happen. If we wouldn't support Trump, that would be the question. In their minds, in the minds of a politician, he moved the embassy, he broke off the Iran deal. It would be the biggest question the other way around. If we didn't support him, so to speak, as a community, they'd be like, how could you not support this guy? They get that. But they also understand that the same way how you support him, you'll support those that are maybe in other parties that also do well by your community. That they expect.
You have a very good relationship. You have a very good relationship with the governor.
We have an excellent relationship with the governor. And the governor's a Democrat, and the governor's progressive, and the governor doesn't see eye to us in a lot of issues, and he knows that. We've had conversations. We respectfully agree to disagree on certain topics, and that's fine. But the fact that we support Donald Trump, it's an expected action.
Did you ever discuss with the governor or with his chief of staff the difference between New York vis-a-vis New Jersey? What happened with Cuomo and what happened?
Oh, sure.
He saw what happened in New York.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's proud. Because I see the Lakewood model, they touted it as...
It's the Lakewood model. It worked. Isn't it an incredible thing? There was an article in Politico recently where they did the Tale of Two Cities, or whatever the
where they quoted Rabbi Avi Schnall.
Because the media is important. So by a guy, Sam Sutton, who actually is a good guy, and he did the interview, and you see it in New Jersey, there was a problem. The problem, Baruch Hashem, has been resolved in a big way, and the governor came out on top. He didn't fight with anyone, didn't have no lawsuits.
Schools were open.
The stores are open, but that's part. Stores are open, schools are open. We're able to function, and there's no fights. Governor Cuomo, when this will be resolved in New York, he comes out.
Do you think there was a failure on part of the Askanim? I know you're not going to point fingers at your colleagues,
but
do you think that they did the best they could?
The Askanim really did a lot, because that's just not a good thing. Every faction of Klal Yisrael in New York, the Chassidim, Satmar, the Sephardim, everyone was trying to get this to be resolved. No one was able to move the needle.
It was only not moved because of Cuomo's arrogance or...
I don't want to call them arrogant. I don't know exactly all the things.
But
that
there's no blame on the Askanim and on the organized.
You just look at what happened over here. It was something that makes no sense.
So let me ask you. Maybe it's a difficult question. You could answer it or you could not answer it. Maybe you're aware that not everybody appreciates a good Yisrael. Maybe you know this, that sometimes
really?
People, yeah, I know, I'm sorry. It's good you're
sitting
down.
Which I haven't heard before.
What is that like for you to be giving 20-hour days, and I know your schedule, I know when you're available, and I know that you work hard. And at the same time, people are good or should have. This is not a new thing. This is how Rashi says in Chumash, right? But it's not easy because the appreciation is not really there. There's a lot of, they should have done differently. If I would, how do you deal with that?
So I'll tell you two things.
And what would you tell them?
I'm sorry?
And what would you tell those people? The guy sitting in the back of the shul saying, I got to drop the ball.
The guy sitting in the back saying, I got to drop the ball, it is what it is. It's we have to do. We have to accomplish. We have a lot ahead of us. If we're going to spend our time for answering to every single person why we didn't do it the way he wanted us to do it, the bottom line is that I could talk for Lakewood, for New Jersey. In Lakewood, New Jersey, the schools are all open. That's the bottom line. There was a tremendous opposition to the plan that we had. We had a plan to do mass testing. I'm sure you know about this. There was a heavy opposition. Heavy opposition.
Do you understand the opposition?
The opposition really was based off of things that have no merits to it. I'm being very honest with
scientifically?
Not scientifically. Well, first of all, scientifically for sure.
Politically, diplomatically?
And politically also. The problem was that those that were opposing it were unaware of the political part of it. And people are naturally nervous. People are just getting nervous. Also, we're right across the river from New York. People were worried about, but New York, they shut it down, but over here we're not shut down. But New York shut down. There was a lot of that fear of that we're going to follow New York, which we knew wasn't happening, because if it was happening, it would have happened. So there was a lot of, some of the people were not involved in the process, and therefore they made assumptions, and you could sign a letter, Gedolei Torah says it's usher, and some people believe it or not. Right. So there was a lot of opposition.
And much harder, you read the Rabbi Shara book, you said, Askanim dealt, they always had a certain degree of separation from the people. Moshe Grylak was not in the WhatsApp generation. You're dealing with something where you put out a letter, within an hour, there's going to be the WhatsApp parade, plus 20 other forgeries against you. You're dealing with in real-time opposition that nobody ever had to deal with.
And there were real-time voice notes and things coming out and on people's WhatsApp
what do you
statuses.
do? And how do you react?
We move on.
How do you know about them? You have people
So first of all, people send to me, which I wonder something, why are you sending this to me? I asked, why do I have to know that guy thinks I'm an idiot?
I didn't.
No, you didn't.
I didn't send it to you.
You didn't send it to me. Although I'm happy they sent it, because it's good to know that,
No, I figure if I know it, you know it.
Yeah, exactly. So people do send it over, and I see it.
Do you take it personally?
So generally not. Generally not.
Your wife and kids don't?
My wife for sure doesn't. My kids get a kick out of it. My kids actually, I have little kids. They get like a kick out of it. Uh-huh. But I generally don't take it personally. Generally not. One guy called me a certain name. Called me a capo. To me, that stung a little bit. You know why? Not because of the person that said it, because that guy wrote other articles about me. I didn't care less. I know what the capos were. My grandmother was there with the capos. You know what I'm saying? Don't call a yid a capo. You can't.
A collaborator.
You can't a capo. But the capo were the guys that were the people that ran the camps. You know what I'm saying?
So that hurt you.
The Nazis didn't hang around in Auschwitz. The capos ran the camps. Right. Don't call a guy. That was one thing. A little sting over there.
But I'm sure you're Mechla.
Yeah, we move on. We move. People make bad choices of words, bad choices of action. You move on. Here's the bottom line. I got a call the first day of the Zman, first day of Yeshiva opening, after Sukkot. Manal called me up, and he says, Avi, I want you to come down to Yeshiva. I want to come to Yeshiva today. There's 800 boys in my Yeshiva sitting and learning Beslavos. Come and see it. This is yours.
Which Manal?
Come and see it.
Which Manal?
I don't know if he wants me to mention his name.
You could say it's Chizuk.
Okay, I'm an Alan Lakewood. That's a very chashuv yeshiva.
It's me and you.
I understand. It's me and you. I have a lot of viewers. It's not a Cheschaim. Not a yeshiva I'm affiliated with at all. I have no affiliation. I'll send my kids there. I don't donate to the yeshiva. Zero affiliation.
Very nice.
He called me and says, I know that you've been Isaac with this. You gave up your chalama. You gave up your yom tov. You had all this. It was not easy getting this done. Come see the yeshiva.
Yeah, you didn't have to do Chalamayid with it. You could take him for that. That's something he did for you.
But now I have to make up for it. That's the problem. The makeup's always much more than the actual trip.
That's very nice. So you're saying you're focused on...
You're focused on the end result. The bottom line is there's 40,000 Kindle went to yeshiva that day. I'm not saying it was me. Of course, everything that I did throughout this parsha was together with Committeeman Meir Lichtenstein. We spoke every day, 12 times a day. We're still speaking every day, Kamat. We did it together. It was a tremendous amount of siyata d'shmai. There's no sort of derech hateva how this happened. The numbers were crazy high. The governor wanted to shut us down. We had a few phone calls that Hashem put the words in our mouth. We knew what to say. They were willing to let it. They didn't say, okay, we're not shutting down. That never happened. We never got like, okay, we're not going to shut down the schools. We got a commitment. Let's see how it goes. But you need to do X, Y, and Z. And it worked. It ended up working. The numbers went down. Baruch Hashem, people are not sick, what they were at all, what it was like. So it worked.
So when you look back at Corona, the 7 or 8 months, you say it was a success by Agudas Yisrael, by the Eskanim.
It was a success of Klal Yisrael.
Meaning it was a difficult time, and Leilenu families lost people.
Right, that's why it was
right.
Well, that's why it
wasn't a happy time.
Right, it wasn't a happy time.
But you think that
Klal
Yisrael,
it was a successful time. We came out a better Am,
even
a better
though
nation.
you could argue that when there's an organization like Agudas Yisrael, we shouldn't need to never really know. There's 20 notes and Rabbanim and doctors and Rabbanim. Why didn't Agudas Yisrael make it clearer and quicker? And why wasn't there messaging?
So that's a whole different
There were so many questions.
That's a completely different question.
Okay, that's the question.
You asked one question.
No. Let's do that now. Let's go to this.
The first question was, how do we look back at this ordeal? Look back at the ordeal. We had a tzara, and we prevailed as a community. In teaching chesed, taking care of each other. Rabbeim had to pivot. The Teishnas pivot. You had I forgot his name. But it was what Rabbeim pulled off in those 3 months was incredible. Everyone. Right? It was we pulled
okay,
off.
now let's go to the next question. I didn't.
You want to get to that next question?
It's a good question. That means we have a leader. You have the Gedolim. You have the Askanim. So tell us: do we have Indo Minyanim? Do we have Atom Minyanim? Should we be doing? Should we not? And there was not a lot of clarity.
So here's the answer. There's never going to be anything that will work for every community in Klal Yisrael, because what works for Lakewood doesn't work for Flatbush, doesn't work for Baltimore or for Cincinnati or for Chicago. So to have that expectation that the Me'etzes is going to put out a letter and every community is going to listen to it, that's not how it works. It never worked like that, by the way. It never was like that. There never was a time that you had like an authority that everybody listened to. There was guidance. I'm going to put out a very clear guidance. It had to reopen shuls. Some communities adapted it, some communities didn't adapt it. I'm
not going to ask you to expand on Das Torah, but ultimately, if push comes to shove, if you're caught listening between a Rav and a doctor, that's a tricky thing, and you're going to go with the Rav. Probably you're going to use what the doctor's information,
of course,
and the other side. There must have been a hard time, because there was a little bit of a minor. It's not a secret. There were 20 civil wars, the mass and not mass, and yes, we know.
Sure.
And in every community, in my community too, it's a nace that people still talk to each other, and the Rebbe Shalom should get us through this. You must have been caught in the middle of a lot of debates. Avi, you can't let this happen. Avi, you have to let this happen.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate that?
We follow Torah. Torah is the light you follow.
Who?
So in Baruch Hashem, where we have in the Kehillah of Lakewood, there's a sort of an infrastructure. There's the yeshiva, there's the Rosh Yeshivas, there was an Igor of Rabbanim that was sort of formed, and that was it. Otherwise you can always find another Rav, another
personal Rabbi in your life that you.
I have that personal in my life. You're not asking me personal questions. That's good questions.
Who is your personal Rabbi in your life?
Who's my Rebbe?
Yeah.
I was lucky to learn by Reb Sholstinsky, who today is a Maggid here in Lakewood. I learned by him in Baltimore about almost 20 years ago. And we learn every single week till today, 20 years later.
You learn privately?
What?
You learn with him alone?
We have a Chavrut Shaf every single week for 20 years.
What do you learn?
Now we're learning Michtav Eliyahu.
You sit down and you learn.
Sit down once a week. Once a week, I actually do it.
I want to say something about Schnall that they may not know. Could I say the secret?
Oh boy!
This is anybody who struggles like Rabbi Schnall myself with a little bit of ADHD.
Yeah, this is a big
can't
thing.
Even imagine this.
Yeah, this is a very big thing.
Rabbi Reich Shlita, the Shiva, Rabbi Reich told me, talking about Klal Yisrael, Good Yisrael, and Rabbi Schnall said Rabbi Schnall joined his minyan. I think with Parshas Emma, they laned in one shot all the Parshas. COVID started Parshas V'Yakal Pikudei, Kitzis V'Yakal Pikudei. They laned in one shot V'Yakal Pikudei V'Yakal Tzav Shmini Tazriyah B'Tzarach Ikedesh Emma outdoors. I think
it was indoors.
It was indoors. And Rabbi Schnall sat there like a tatala. Doing that, he gets a special award.
Yes, that definitely.
This is something. I'm amazed. I can't even imagine it.
Yeah.
So kudos to you. Does it mean anything to you? I know you learned in Philadelphia. Talmud of Philadelphia Yeshiva, right?
Yes.
Does it mean anything to you that there's the new Me'atzes Cadillac Torah and that the son of your Yeshiva, Rabbi Yishvei's son, joined the Me'atzes? Does that mean anything to you personally that Rabbi Yishvei is now a member of the governing body of Agudas Yisrael?
I tell you this, the Meyetzis is the Meyetzis. And over the past few years, a lot of members of the Meyetzis were getting older. We lost a bunch of members. The Rebbe was nifter, Rabbi Chaim Levin was nifter, Matis Rav was nifter. So the Meyetzis needed sort of a broadening, so to speak, and it happened. So it's an incredible thing. I don't look at the Meyetzis as being an Aguda thing. The Meyetzis belongs to Klal Yisrael. You know what I'm saying? This is a Klal Yisrael thing. And that now that we're zeicher to have 15 members on the Meyetzis, active, vibrant Meyetzis is an incredible schus for Klal Yisrael. And that, whoever's on the Meyetzis is...
Have you met them? Do you get introduced to them? How does it work?
So we haven't because of COVID. So
tell me a little bit. I'm sorry. But there's a Supreme Court confirmation. Everybody knows exactly what happened. Right. The whole America is watching.
How does the Meyetzis work, right?
Yeah, how does that work?
I have no idea. It's a good question.
It's like a secret process. It's a raffle.
I don't know.
There's 50 Rosh Yeshiva in America.
No, so the Meyetzis chooses who goes to the Meyetzis.
The active sitting Meyetzis
members
choose the new ones?
Yeah,
out of a bigger list, out of a smaller list?
I have no idea.
Confirmation, hard questions?
I have no idea. So the truth really is, I never asked that question.
Could you find out for me? I would love to know.
I'm probably not be able to find that either because the person, the few guys that know, probably may not tell it even.
Maybe they're going to ask you to be on the Meyetzis then.
I hardly doubt that. Even though I learned once a week.
Right?
And I did the laning, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough.
Okay, I have a whole new question. Another one of Rabbi Schnall's many hats he wears is a Kira personality. You worked in Ura for many years. I think you still
totally pivoted.
Go into Ura in the summer? Do you still do that? Do you try to go back?
I don't do it for the summer now. I'm zeicher to spend Rosh Hashanah and Shavuos in the zone.
So how does being aware of Kiev and the mandate to reach out to people who didn't merit to go to Yeshivas and Beis Yaakovs and see Orthodox life, being Orthodox Jew during COVID, and the PR, which a lot of it we didn't do to ourselves. Some of it is always self-inflicted. A lot of it is media-inflicted. What are you thinking Kiev, Ura-wise? How does that play to the non-affiliated Jews who you have to reach?
So I think about it not so much in the Kiev-wise. I think about it from the political end. Meaning, I thought about it a lot of how we're going to answer up all these questions. Like the first wave months ago.
Why don't the Jews you're not wearing masks?
More than that, when you had all those arrests for every wedding, every time there was 10 people in Lakewood, somehow the police were there. It was like an incredible phenomenon.
So you were working
I asked someone, I said, I can walk home Friday night from my house to my shul every Friday night. And I live in Rain Street. It's a dark neighborhood, not a lot of street lights. I've never seen a police officer. All of a sudden, the minute you have 10 guys gathering for a bar mitzvah, the cops are there. And I go on, like the whole force comes. Like, how does that happen? But it was a trying time. Because, every week, every day almost, you were in the news again. Another party in Lakewood. It definitely didn't do good for us. So there's a particular politician that's not in Lakewood. He's in South Jersey that we have a relationship with. And at the time, we were working on a pretty big piece of legislation. The whole thing got put on hold right now because we didn't expect this. No one expected this to happen. But at the time, we were in the middle of a piece of legislation, and then COVID broke out. But we were still working on it, but like very, not so involved. And I was worried that this guy is going to start reading all the stuff and like he's may distance himself from trying to help us out. So I called up a common contact that the two of us have, and I say, where's he holding with us? Like, can you try to send out your feelers? Like, where's he up to? 'Cause I was nervous about this. And he says, he did what he had to do. He got back to me. He says, understand something. You look at it because you live in that world of every day you see yourself. But you have to remember also, there were a lot of other parties also that happened. Newark was having many more incidents than Lakewood was. And so was Trenton.
Get completely obsessed with how we're
obsessed with our own. Let's take a step back. There are many other things going on. Now, yes, 100%. Those living in Ocean County were focused on Lakewood. But if you're living beyond Ocean County,
what are you going to answer? You have to deal with Ocean County, your neighbors as well, who don't understand your community, either from a Kira point of view or from a political point of view. Did you have your talking points ready, and what were your answers?
The talking points is, we can go back in history, so to speak, but there's two real answers. There's the Kiev answer, and then there's the other answers. But it really is what really happened. It was a crazy time. It was a crazy time when the enforcement level was beyond what needed to be happening. As a example, but this is really an example of many cases. A guy in my shul, his kid was getting bar mitzvah. There was no bar mitzvah. He didn't make a bar mitzvah. I still have the videos because we saved it to hold on to for this reason. And a bunch of the uncles and aunts and the cousins of the bar mitzvah boy wanted like a drive-by. This is the beginning of the height, when it was really, everyone was nervous about it. And they drove to his house, they came out of the cars, everyone's by their car, everyone's socially distanced, and they're dancing and they're singing, and he's on his front lawn with his sons, and he's dancing with them, and there's a guy 10 feet away, the grandfather's at 10 feet away, and the cops came, they gave him a ticket for child endangerment and for disruption of the community. They hit him heavy. He did nothing wrong. He did absolutely nothing wrong. People were in a very, it was like, I won't use the word uptight, but people were frantic. People were nervous. People were frantic. The police were nervous. Everyone was nervous. They just wanted to shut things down. So the minute there was any infringement, we got it. We got it. So if you take a step back and look at what really happened, a wedding. So the person had a wedding in the backyard. They had 10 people in one backyard. And 50 feet away, 10 people in the other backyard. It was 100% legal. Police came.
Could it be that this was inflated a little? There were people, it's not a secret, within the Frum community who saw this as their mission to report, document, and share every violation.
Terrible.
So they're taking out their own phones
Terrible.
and tipping off the police testimonium.
Yeah. Terrible.
They contributed to this. That
They
means their
absolutely
own
contributed to this, 100%.
desire to whatever.
I think that they're going to one day be asked a lot of questions on this. I mean, why? What was the intention? To save lives? I don't buy
No,
it.
like
so
I said,
much.
those are the medical profession who
Yeah.
are out there on the front lines all day.
They
see things differently.
But it's a big question on those that did that. It's a very big question.
Okay, so to wrap this up, we're looking back at the last 7 months. March 1st, 2020, up until November 3rd, 2020, so to speak.
A lot of things happened.
A lot of things happened. But you're looking back from your role as somebody who's, so to speak, a middleman between the people and the authorities, the political authorities. Your look to Good Yisrael of Lakewood, a Good Yisrael
of New Jersey.
Good Yisrael of New Jersey. And which, by the way, that's another award because in addition to a Good Yisrael, people are going to take pot shots at you. You also live in Lakewood, which is a tough town. So it's not like you Good Yisrael in Cleveland or Cincinnati, where they send you Shalach Manas, or they say thank you for your hard work.
So we have directors in Baltimore, in Florida,
thank you,
and A.D. Mosley in Cincinnati, Ohio, Chicago,
and everyone's up.
And sometimes maybe you should. I say, one second. You have your one-day school over there. You have your board of members and your VA. Let's all take it easy over here. Come to Lakewood for a week. Let me know how it goes.
It's tough.
Yeah, Lakewood is a tough place. But
you're looking back at 7 months, and you're saying the Frum community and the people that I represent proudly did a great job.
Absolutely, there were challenges like no other. In all aspects, in all facets, you can talk about this. Should be books. There should be books written about what happened. The mechanchen, the askanim.
I'm game. Who's paying?
We'll find a sponsor. We'll find a sponsor. But think about
Which moment makes you proudest? When you look back at the last 7 months, say, this is when I was proud to be doing what I was doing. This, which moment or which accomplishment, which achievement, what happened that you say, wow, that was really something that we managed to.
We set up a hotline. We set up a hotline in New Jersey for people to come and ask questions about PPP, the PPP loans, the new unemployment. It was a whole new world for everyone.
We Aguda?
Aguda Sol, yeah. We set up a hotline. We had volunteers that were answering calls.
What did the volunteers know?
So we found people that were limited this stuff, that they took it and they invested a lot of time because no one really knew anything.
All voluntarily.
All volunteers. And we set up an email address. You have a question, send an email, someone will call you back. That's how it was. We answered thousands of people.
You probably had every single guy in Lakewood calling up if they could buy and sell.
We had a few of those.
We had a few of those. I have 7 million masks.
Yeah, we had a few of those. But by and large, it was people that were totally at a loss, that they lost their hope. I know they lost
and you did that very quickly. That was relatively early.
We started very, very fast. There was a guy that, a mutual friend of ours, Gershi Tress, that gave me the kick in the pants to do it. I said, you know something? Let's do it. Let's do it.
Gershi Tress loves a gooda. He's
100%.
He has that in his blood.
It's in his blood.
Can't run away.
He can't be a bigger agadist than a guy Gershi Tress.
Okay.
So we set it up. And we had thousands of calls.
And who were your volunteers? What sort of people? Accountants?
People that were accountants, people that were HR directors.
And they did it willingly for you?
They were more than happy. They were home.
How many calls?
And we had a few. We had in total about 2,200 calls.
Wow.
2,200 individuals that we helped across the state. And there was a guy that lived in Teaneck. He was a caterer. He called me up and he said, I just want to know something. I'm a small catering business. I was out. I'm done. I had nothing there. I had no business going on. And I'm letting you know, I'm putting food on my table because of your guidance.
Like what sort of guidance?
Of how to get the loans. How to get the loans, how to get the EIDL loans, the PPP loans, the unemployment, the self-employment. There were so many new rules out there, it was at a total loss. See, a lot of times you talk about the big stuff, 40,000 kids, we got the yeshivas open, we got this done, we got that done, federal, Washington, there's the yachid also. When you hear a guy, bottom line, a regular guy, he's trying to make a panos to feed his family. He got hit by this COVID. He was out. He was lost. He had nowhere to turn.
You were able to walk him through
it. And we walked him through it. And the bottom line is he survived. He got through it. And Baruch Hashem. That was an amazing, it was a Klai moment. It wasn't just a me moment. This
Everybody doing their thing. This is what you look at.
I was on a call with a few Askanim in Lakewood that they knew about this hotline. And they wanted to raise a Karen for people. They knew people are going to go broke at the beginning. So first of all, we saw the visionary of the people, that they knew people are going to need money. Let's not wait then. Let's do this now. I'm on a call. There must have been, let's say, 30 guys on the call. And they said, let's do it. Within that 20-minute phone call, close to $1 million was raised. There was no dinner. There was no honorees. There was no fanfare. No one will ever know, after those 20 people, who gave this money and how much they gave. And they just gave. It was an incredible experience. Incredible experience.
Okay, so a few things. One is I'd love for you to talk more about this. We have to do this again. Maybe next time we'll do a tie. Take three, very good.
Take three.
Next time in a tie. And you got to write these things down. You got to keep a diary, even for yourself. Of these 7 months, Hashem should help us to go past this whole.
Amen.
Thank you for coming again, and it's a pleasure sitting with you.
Thank you very much, and keep calling.